Zev Garber did not embarrass his guest. Chas v'chalil. Did you see how carefully I was? It was he who now got the member.
I got it.
Learn a Jewish way. It's okay.
But anyway, but you did have Kahana.
I had him in my classroom.
Right.
Kahana came to my classroom.
It was
Begin could
Begin,
not come to my classroom.
But Begin was there.
It was
2,000 people, and he was, in fact,
I did.
and Professor Garber predicted it, and it came true. He became the prime minister of Israel.
Okay, you all have the Jewish perspectives I gave you. You'll see the picture of Garber and Begin. It was on that occasion they spoke.
But going back to Kahana for just a second.
Kahana was a more right-wing one.
Right. So
and they all behaved with me. With me, they had to be.
I
came from the Bronx.
After the Kahana speech, so I introduced myself. I hadn't met him before, but I met him here, and I introduced myself, and I said, "Hello, I'm Tzvi Block. You know, the man you interviewed some 2 years ago or 3 years ago back in Brooklyn." And he looked at me and he said, "A lot of water under the bridge." What did he mean by that? He meant that during those tumultuous 3 years, those were tumultuous times in America, the late 60s, early 70s, the Vietnam and civil rights, and everyone's jumping and crazy, and there's assassinations going on, and it was just crazy, and all our values were being turned topsy-turvy. And actually, I told Mayor Khan an interesting thing. I told him there were 2 MKs that made a major change in American life, fighting for their people. One was Mayor Kahana, and the other was Martin Luther King, MK. I said Martin Luther King fought for the black people, and Mayor Kahana fought for the Jewish people, and it's not by accident that the same letters MK. But they were really in the same vein for their own people, in which they said, stand up, be proud, don't be ashamed, and stand up for your rights, and then protect yourselves, and then don't let us be oppressed. And this was all part of that whole civil rights revolution at the time. It was a crazy time in America, but it was also a valuable time because a lot of changes did occur, positive, valuable changes. And I think that those valuable changes meant that, what did it mean, let's say, to revive pride? So we all know that, for instance, we have a Black Heritage Month, we have Jewish Heritage Month, stuff like that. And of course, for the Jew, it meant something very, very powerful. It meant that, where do we find the Jewish pride? Where do we find Jewish heritage? Where do we find Jewish history? The answer is in the Torah, in the Bible. And that's why Rabbi Kahana proposed and promoted as much as possible a religious renaissance. A renaissance that said, I want to be in shul Shabbat morning. A renaissance that said, I want to light candles Friday night. I want to celebrate Pesach as a celebration of our freedom, and so forth. And there were so many Jewish people out there, many in Professor Garber's class, that didn't know anything about it. They didn't know anything about our mitzvahs and our heritage and so forth. And this was their intro. Professor Garber was their intro to say, let me tell you who you are. Tomorrow morning, get up and look at the mirror and find out who you are. You're a Jew. You come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses brought the Torah down from Mount Sinai for you, for your heritage, for your great grandparents. So once we understand where we come from, then I get a perspective. I can look at the mirror again and say, who am I? I got Jewish blood in my veins. That means to say, I got a heritage of people who have withstood the most horrific persecutions in human history throughout the centuries, and have stayed strong. It was so easy to compromise. If the Christians wanted us to become Christians, we could have easily capitulated and became, and we didn't. And in Spain, they threw us out. And then Professor Garber, who's a professor of history, knows it as good as anybody. Our history was filled with pogroms, inquisitions, persecutions, and eventually a Holocaust. But that same heritage rebuilt. That same heritage, 3 years after the Holocaust, built the state of Israel. We were built on those ashes. We were able to do it, still survive, still be here today. Now, to be honest, back in 1970, 71, 72, there wasn't very popular to be religiously Jewish at all. Today, I'll give you an example. Let's take North Hollywood. Just North Hollywood. This little, now we call Valley Village. This little neighborhood. We came to the neighborhood. There was maybe 150 members of the shul called Shaare Tzedek. And there was maybe 200 children in the school called Emek Hebrew Academy. And that was about the community. Let me tell you what it's like today. Today, there are in this neighborhood 2,000 Shomer Shabbat people, families. You understand? There are 4 schools in this neighborhood. Emek with 1,100 children. Chabad has a legacy school. Sephardim have Rabbi Gabai has a school for Or HaChaim, and then you've got the new school from Chavetz Chaim Yeshiva Ketana, Los Angeles, with 300 children. Amazing. Today, Shaare Tzedek has 500 members. But guess what? There are a dozen other shuls in the neighborhood. A dozen others, and half of them are Sephardic. Amazing. There are a dozen shuls in the neighborhood that never existed before. And all this happened before our very eyes as we grew and got older and watched the younger people move in and go, wow, have they changed the whole thing? And we got 3 high schools, and we got 3 mikvahs, and we got a dozen kosher restaurants. Unbelievable. What has happened in half a century? Whew. So, of course, we understand that whatever growth or development we've had is really based upon those early pioneers, of which Professor Garber is one of those early pioneers. And maybe I'm a part of that too, because I came here that way back and started teaching and stuff. But really what you see from here is that we all have to be very grateful for our past, for the people who pioneered and made Valley Village, North Hollywood, the Valley prosper and grow and develop. I mean, and then of course the Persian community came in, and then the Chabad came in, who were expected for Chabad to be here, and all this developed virtue of going back to our history and our heritage. If this was true, if this is who we are today, because of those early heroes that Rabbi Sugarman and others, Rabbi Stepp and others, who built this community to what it is today, then you have to look to the future and say a very interesting prayer. The prayer is, Ashreinu, ma tov chelkeinu, how happy we are to be who we are. Uma na'im goralenu, how incredibly magnificent is going to be our future. But all this is based upon Uma yafa Yerushatenu, how beautiful our heritage is, how amazing were the people that made it happen for us.
Okay, very good. First of all, thank you for the little Josh.
Thank you.
And if Rob, what he's saying is so would you all do me a favor with a young man just visiting right now? We have a class in the fall semester. The numbers are very small for us. So if you can just spread the word